Morning, everybody. It's Misha. I want to talk today about your brain on insulin resistance. And so, hang out. We're going to learn a little bit about all of this. If you suffer from migraines, fatigue, any of that, hang out today. Even we're going to talk about things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, ADHD. All of it is linked because your brain becomes insulin resistant at the same rate as the rest of the tissues in your body. Although most of us are not being told about why there's such a prevalence of some of these neurological disorders going on for many of us. So hang tight. We're gonna hop in as soon as I get this hair off my nose. I've had this thing lately about not putting makeup on, only my lipstick. I'm not sure how I like it. We'll see how that goes. But um, yeah. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's talk about the brain on insulin resistance. Number one, we're just going to go brief recap. Insulin resistance is a disease of too much sugar too often. It makes us have this need for this hormone called insulin, and that insulin is there to deliver that energy that you eat in the form of food to every cell of the body. So that's a great thing, and that works amazingly well when we're in balance. But when we're eating so much and we're eating just too often and the wrong kinds of foods, or our foods have been jacked with, which we all know they have, then we start to have problems. And it's why we're seeing more and more of this problem in the last 50, 60 years than we ever did before, because our food is continually being messed with. And we know we're not rotating crops. Um, we have genetically modified foods that have fibers and nutrients stripped out so that it can be bigger, juicier, plumper. And we're being told that the wrong foods are the right foods for us and all of the stuff that's going on. So, what are you supposed to do? Well, you can listen to me or you can pass me by, but let's hang out for a second. So, one of the things we need to understand is that most of this food is just turning to sugar too quickly in our system. Later on, I'm going to give you the protocol that helped me get my insulin resistance under control by slowing down how those sugars hit my system. But in the meantime, when we look at the tissues of the body, I mentioned yesterday that the three top users of metabolic energy are going to be your liver, your heart, and your brain. So, if pound for pound, your brain is one of the most metabolically meta energy using tissues in the body, then we need to understand when it starts to become insulin resistant and can't take up energy, we start to have problems. So we're going to dive into things like, well, number one, most of us now know that type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's, and that a number of people with diabetes end up with Alzheimer's later in life. There's a special situation in that, though. There's a chemical called APOE4 that seems to be present in the people who really transition into Alzheimer's. And so there is a genetic component. And I want to be clear that I'm not saying that insulin resistance is the cause of everything. There's definitely genetic markers, there's definitely bacterial stuff, there's definitely injury stuff that can happen. But in almost every case that I look at, insulin resistance makes it worse. Now, with there's also plaques and tangles in the brain, and we already know that insulin resistance diabetes starts to cause plaques throughout the body. It's no different in the brain. But one of the other things that's happening, we talk about neurons and how they fire, um, and how that gets disrupted with insulin resistance. Well, part of that is through tau. Tau helps keep our nerves in order. And when it's overproduced, which it's one of those things with insulin resistant, that it gets a little out of control. It's like a 3-year-old wanting to party and it's running around causing problems. And all of a sudden, this clean house goes to this messy house with things in places that shouldn't be. Kind of like what's happening in our brain when tau is so overproduced because it's being fed too much by insulin. But at the same time, the other cells of the brain are starting to become resistant to insulin not taking up enough energy. Another thing that happens is it's reduced vascularity in the brain. So I talk about reduction of vascularity when we talk about heart problems, and that's for sure, right? But if insulin is reducing blood flow and increasing blood pressure, but by that reducing blood flow, this happened, remember, with erectile dysfunction, but this happens in your brain as well. So now you're just not getting the blood flow, the oxygen flow, the nutrient flow to the brain that you need, because of the interference of too much insulin. And with a number of these disorders, we're going to see this happen. So, the interesting thing also is for me that a number of these disorders, when they look at the prevalence of them and insulin resistance together, that's up to 10 times more likely that someone with insulin resistance is going to have any number of these neurological disorders, incongruencies. So we want to understand that insulin really impacts the brain, and understand that even when it comes down to things like anxiety, depression, brain fog, it's your brain telling you something is going on. Anxiety, depression, and brain fog have to do with energy in the brain, but it also has to do with dopamine. So the interesting, and I feel like I'm talking in circles, like I know this, but I'm maybe not making sense to a lot of people. But dopamine production that's happening in the brain gets interrupted with insulin resistance. And so then we have this reward center problem. That reward center problem, that dopamine reduction, can also cause problems with some of these nerve firings. But it also causes problems with your hunger and satiety hormones. So now, not only is your brain having you linked into all of these other anxiety, depression, whatnot, but maybe it's the root of why you're just feeling like you're in a slump all the time. And for an ADHD person with no dopamine already, and insulin tampering with that, the effects of whatever dopamine we do get, it seems to be a huge problem. So the confession here is not confession, just the statement here for everyone to understand is, I started talking about autism and insulin resistance a while back. And at first, I caught a lot of flack because people thought that I was making fun of autistic people, or that I was degrading them in some way. No, no, I'm not. Because here's the caveat: I'm autistic. I'm very high functioning autistic. Does that make me think that I'm stupid or that I'm incapable? No. It just means that my brilliance lies in a different place than a normal person's brilliance is going to lie. It means that I have a harder time putting up with just absolute bullshit. It means that I'm a little bit more direct in how I speak. It means that I prefer numbers and graphics over people most times, but it doesn't make me a bad person. That's not the thing. But when we start to look at how insulin resistance affects the brain, and we have these genetic or linked to genetic disorders in the brain that are being worsened by insulin resistance, if we could just understand that getting the insulin under control in the body could help all of those things. In fact, it could help prevent things like Alzheimer's. It could help reduce the onslaught of Parkinson's. It could help the reduction of depression, anxiety, definitely brain fog. So when we look at insulin in the brain, let's bring it back. One of the things that's happening is, if your insulin receptors in your brain, beyond all these other neurofibrillary tangles and plaques and dopamine and all this stuff, but if your brain is not getting those receptors in your brain cells are not getting in the insulin, it means they're not getting in the glucose, and your brain needs glucose to function. So we have a problem, right? Because we're getting in plenty of glucose, but we're getting in so much that the body has shut down to it. Now, when the brain is not able to uptake that glucose, it senses that something is wrong, and now we start to have those things like depression and anxiety and brain fog. And sometimes I'm going to say, like, sometimes, let's be honest, there's been mornings I've come on and it feels really tough for me to complete a thought. That's partly the ADHD, and partly that I haven't had my tea yet. So the tea actually helps me get on track. It's one of the reasons I love it. The tea also has been proven to help with dopamine production. Crazy. So now not only is it something that helps with GLP-1, has antioxidant, anti-cancer, but it's helping me with dopamine production. No wonder I love the tea so much. Um, I don't know what it feels like to be neurotypical, so I can't even tell you. But I know what it feels like to be ADHD and autistic, and I know that when I have too much sugar and I'm gotten a hold of seed oils, that my brain doesn't function the same. So, it explains a lot of my life to me, not just the weight and not just the skin tags and not just the inflammation and the blood pressure and all of that, but it explains a lot of struggles I've had throughout my life. And God only knows, I wish I would have known all of this stuff earlier, had any clue that what was going on because I was severely depressed. Um, I used to lay in bed at night and cry when my kids were gone, because I would never do it when my kids were home, but when they were gone visiting their dad for the weekend, I would spend most of those nights crying. Just I was over life. I was in pain throughout my body. My brain wasn't functioning properly. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was going through it like heavily. I would never take my own life, and that's a very sensitive subject, but I certainly didn't wanna be here, so much so that my prayers were not like, "Let me wake up in the morning." My prayers were like, "Just make it so I don't have to see the light of another day. I don't wanna be here anymore." But here's the thing, God apparently had a plan for me, and so I'm still here. Even through all the high blood pressure, all the anxiety, depression, I'm still here, and why I'm here is to talk to you about how you can start to feel better. The tea you can get in, my profile link. So look, this is yerba mate tea, but it's a very specific form of yerba mate tea. It's 375 times more potent than any other yerba mate tea on the market, any bagged tea. It comes in a little packet that I just pour in water, but it gives me that antioxidant, anti-cancer activity. It helps my brain function. This was actually developed as a mental health tool. We've now been discovering how well it works for metabolic issues, and partly it's working so well in the brain because it's addressing so many metabolic issues. So this tea is part of my day every day. It's also part of the reason why we transitioned into 2 tea a day and 1 fiber, because this does so much for the brain. When the brain is functioning properly, you're less likely to overeat. You're less likely to be inactive. You're less likely to have all of those things that are negatively impacting your metabolism. So, reversing some of that through something as simple as a tea that's giving you a ton of energy without giving you crashes or hurting your heart, that's pretty amazing. So, that's what the tea is. But back to the brain. So, when we look at migraine headaches, it's the same thing as, or not the same thing, but very similar to anxiety and depression, where the brain is just not getting enough energy to function properly. And now you're sensing the brain in severe energy dysfunction mode where it's just not got enough energy and it's really shutting down. That's that migraine that you're feeling. Your head hurts because it needs energy in there. No, it doesn't need you to go have another Snickers bar or a cupcake or any of that. It needs clean energy that's accessible to the brain. And how do we get that glucose accessible to the brain? We start to reduce the impact of it when we eat so that we're not getting huge blood sugar spikes, causing huge insulin spikes, causing us to be insulin resistant in some of these cells. Now, remember, those little things called tau, that protein gets overactive, spurned by insulin resistance. So understand that insulin resistance does not always look like the body just isn't functioning to it. Some places the body is overindulging in insulin, and some places the body's not able to indulge in insulin, and that's the problem, that we just have this dysregulation throughout the body. But the brain is one of the biggest users of energy in our body. And when it can't utilize the energy because the receptors for insulin, the transporter of the energy, are not able to be used, then the energy doesn't get into the cells and we start to see all these problems. I know that's kind of like a long way around about it, but I hope that makes sense to people. Everyone, if it doesn't, put a one in. If it does, put a two in. But I really want you to understand how much insulin resistance is impacting your brain and your mental health. If you feel like you're just tired all the time, maybe it's not just your body, but your brain just seems to hurt. I remember those days. And you just don't have the energy to get up. This also links into vertigo, Meniere's, all of that. It's probably insulin resistance. And if you could just get your insulin under control, your brain would start to function more normally. So 3 years ago, I was doing coaching for subconscious reprogramming to help people with PTSD and trauma, right? So we would, my bestie Steph Koch, nurse Steph, and I would do these teachings every week. And so I would have to spend all week writing whatever it was we were going to be talking about for the week. And then I would have to practice with her because she was far less comfortable on camera. I was uncomfortable, but she was worse. But anyway, those meetings were painful for me because I felt like I couldn't, even though I was the one who spent all week doing all the research and putting it together, that I was having a hard time finding words, that I was having a hard time getting it out. And that was frustrating to me. So it's I'm gonna bring in something else. There's this guy, and I mean, some of what he says I agree with. I cannot remember his name. Very, very outspoken. I would tend to think misogynistic black man. But he was talking about how women's IQ is so low. And the interesting thing to me is in this, why I struggled with it so much as part of my divorce, we were required to do psychological counseling and assessment. My IQ tested out at 129. My husband's IQ tested out at about 86. That was a hard pill for him to swallow. But so the fact that my IQ was so high and I was struggling so hard had me concerned, like, what the hell happened? I have always had this high functioning brain. Why can I not remember people's names, remember facts that I just read? And then I started the protocol for insulin resistance, actually for diabetes, and it's not making sense. My brain function started to return, and in fact, it happened so quickly that only 3 days on the tea and the fiber, I was on a Zoom call with Steph, and we were practicing what our speech was, or our podcast was for the week. And she stopped mid meeting and said, what have you done? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, you have more mental energy, more clarity, you're more positive and happy than I've seen you in 4 years. What did you do? What's different? And so then I told her about the system, and then she knew me well enough to see the signs that I was getting better all on her own without me ever telling her I did anything different. So now she does the system and has found that it's helped with her ADHD and her insecurity issues that cause anxiety and whatnot. So, all right, what is not making sense? The insulin resistance. Let's go back, and I don't know what piece is not making sense. So I want to go over what is not making sense for you. If you can let me know where I lost you at, and I'll go back, because I know sometimes I talk in circles and I talk kind of fast, and it's easy to get lost with me. I get that, so I'm more than happy to go back. Tell you how to get the system. So the system, you guys, it's just in my profile link. You'll see my website there. You can read more about it. I would prefer that you just reach out to me. I can send you information and the link to my website anyway, where you're just going to order the tea there. The thing is, when you order from someone like me, it's coming directly from the company. You're getting all the guarantees. Like, there is a 90-day money back guarantee. So in everyone that I talk to, this is what I'm going to tell you almost every time. If this could help, even if it's not the root cause, but it's causing things to be worse. If this could help and you gave it 90 days and it didn't work and you got your money back, would you still do it? If this could help and you gave it 90 days and you even saw improvement in some of your symptoms, better mental clarity, less depression, less anxiety, the ADHD under control, knowing that, like I was headed towards Alzheimer's and I could see some of the clues, and I'll tell you one clue for Alzheimer's that just blows me away, but I could see all of them in me, and my son was actually very afraid that his mama was starting to show signs of Alzheimer's, and he didn't know what to do about it. And that all has been reversed once I got my insulin under control. So just tap on my picture up above, a white box will come up below. Then you're going to look for the red light symbols in my profile. Let me do this. Sorry, guys. So my everything is dirty today. So there, if you see my profile picture with the red glasses, and then you find the red lights, the link is right there. And when you open up that link, it's going to take you to a very simplified version of my landing page. So if you want to get a hold of me, learn more about the system, just connect with me here. I send text messages and I get on the phone. Last night I was on the phone with a wonderful woman for about an hour last night, helping her decide what to do, and talking to her about her daughter's issues. Then there's the web page, and then this is just a little page on what I do and how I make money. And I would love to share that with people too, because we're on a mission to help people throughout the world, and I can't do it alone. I obviously can't do it alone. I'm appreciative of the hundreds of people lives that I've touched, but we need help. There's billions of people in the world, and everybody needs to know that your illness is not a lack of a pill. Okay. All right. Let me flip this back around. So that's where you're going to find the system, and getting this set up. All right. So with that, you guys, again, I'm not quite sure what wasn't clear. So let me try to slow down and go back into it a little bit. All right. We're going to start off with that we're eating too much. The foods we eat convert into glucose in the system too quickly. That too quickly means a blood sugar spike. So, Cassie, we used to have, we used to sweeten with uh, stevia, and we're getting, not stevia, sucralose. We're getting rid of that. So the lemon and the balance are now sweetened with stevia. So no artificial sweeteners. It's called lemon natural and balance natural. So we're addressing that. And the other products that we're coming out with, we're converting those into stevia only, so that the few people who are having problems with things like sucralose don't have those problems anymore. So we do have that option now for you to get the natural. Just make sure that the form of tea that you're getting says natural by it. As we transition, the other flavors will open up to being naturally flavored as well, meaning they have stevia and none of the other stuff. I hope that answers. Yeah. And I think it's important to us. And so here's the thing. The company is the company, and it's one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and work with the company, besides the fact that it did so good for me, was I got to meet the CEO. He's an amazing human-centric person, very concerned about people and their health and their wealth, and just making sure that as many people are abundant in health and wealth as possible in the world. And he means it. He's not just one of those guys who's saying it and not doing the work on the backside. But the company itself feels that way too. So 3 years ago, I asked why we weren't sweetening with stevia. Other people started asking the same thing, and they listened and they changed the formulation to address those issues, and they continue to do that. That's one of the reasons I love the company, is they listen not just to the science but to the people in what they need. And that is, again, is why we transitioned from a tea in the morning and two pre-meal drinks to two teas throughout the day and one pre-meal drink. And I can explain that later. But here's the thing: when you order from me, Cassie, or anybody who's thinking about it, you're going to start to get email texts from me. I don't do email anymore because, you guys, Hit me up. Let me know. I feel like I don't read most of my emails anymore either, especially when I'm being inundated with emails. I will read a text, but I don't. My it feels like my email inbox is just overfull, and I'm just continually deleting people's stuff. So I don't really email anymore because I feel like people just don't open them up. But you'll get text from me, you'll get a video that shows you how to do this, and you get me telling you to call me or text me, let me know how I can help you. It's not like I put you on this thing and then I walk away. So let's go back to the brain. I hope that answered that. All right, so Um, too much sugar in the bloodstream, right, causes this insulin dysfunction where insulin is out too much all the time. Some cells start to become resistant to it. That's where insulin resistance comes in, but some cells take up too much of it. In the brain is becoming insulin resistant at the same rate as the body, and sometimes maybe even quicker, meaning even though you're eating and getting energy in, the brain just can't utilize it. Now, if glucose is the big source of energy for the brain, and the brain's just not getting it, not because there's not enough in the system, but because the transporter, insulin, of that sugar or energy can't unlock the door to the cell anymore, we have a problem. The brain starts to shut down and it starts to have misfiring of nerves in the brain. It's just not getting energy in. It's overproducing things like tau, which is causing dopamine problems. So it messes with dopamine and serotonin in the brain. So whether you can sleep or whether you're fatigued but can't sleep, all of that relates into the brain not being able to take up energy. And that is linked to insulin resistance because it's not getting in the energy. The other thing I talked about was something called vascular dementia. So, in the brain, not only do we need the insulin to get to the cells, but we need blood flow to deliver those nutrients and the oxygen to the cells. With insulin resistance, through a number of ways, it starts to reduce the blood flow and the vascularity within the system. Um, so when we start to have blood flow vessels that are no longer reaching areas of the brain, we start to have problems in those centers in the brain, and it can look like a number of dysfunction through for people. So the brain not able to use the energy that's there, the brain not able to get the energy there because of vascular problems. All of it links to why the brain is suffering because it doesn't have enough energy. Does that help explain it a little better? Something for neuropathy. So I talked a little bit about neuropathy with this too. Um, Oman plata. So neuropathy is just misfiring of your nerves. Insulin messes with how your nerves um, conduct messages. I was trying to look for the right word, conduct messages. So in a normal system, you have nerve endings and there's a message coming through and this message goes through this one and jumps this little gap and it goes to this nerve and it just keeps passing on through the body. Well, with insulin resistance, there's a blockage in this message way and those messages aren't going directly through. Plus, it can have those firings coming kind of like out the side, so it just isn't hitting. So you may have coordination problems. You may find that you trip and fall or that you're dizzy more often or that, some functions with your muscles, maybe you walk more clunky. Maybe a number of things like that are happening because those nerve endings are not communicating. Messages aren't going through your body in the way they're supposed to. Neuropathy, you're having that painful signaling, especially in your hands and feet, and oftentimes along with edema. And it all links back to insulin resistance for most of us. Some neuropathy is maybe caused by an injury or something. I stopped liking the color blue. Anything can happen. That comment makes no sense to me. All right. So just understand that insulin resistance through a number of ways. And here's the other thing I want to say. So, when they look at the brain and insulin resistance, they're starting to find some of these things like the tau, and how it's causing these neurofibrillary tangles, and how it's interrupting dopamine production, and all of that. But they're really just starting to look into the brain on insulin resistance. So where science is at right now with it is, a lot of studies in the 2020s have been put out that are showing that there's a definite correlation between somebody with some of these neurological disorders and the prevalence of insulin resistance in their body. So now they're diving into exactly how is this function happening. We have the overall idea of that the brain is not getting energy, of that the brain's, because of that, the messages are getting mixed up, if you will, through the nerves, and um, we're starting to have anxiety and depression and dopamine and serotonin issues. But exactly how that happens, they're diving into looking into that now. So hopefully we'll have some better answers as to how all this is actually happening. Right now, what we know is that insulin resistance makes it worse. One of the things I wanted to talk about when I made the little revelation about ADHD and autism, I want to talk about those two things in insulin resistance and you pregnant mamas. So every woman becomes a little bit insulin resistant in pregnancy, insulin resistant in pregnancy. So I talked about this a little bit yesterday too. One of the things that's happening is your body is saving energy for the baby. So it's resisting you taking up too much energy. You're becoming a little insulin resistant. Those energy cues aren't going to mama. They're starting to go to the uterus, to the placenta, to the baby, so that that baby can grow and thrive. So mama's struggling a little bit so baby can grow. Now, if that little bit of insulin resistance that's common in women gets pushed over the edge into something called gestational diabetes, where you full on become diabetic during pregnancy. What they've found is that women who end up with gestational diabetes tend to have children, or have a higher likelihood of having a child with ADHD or autism spectrum disorder. Now, when I look at it, my daughter is high functioning autistic, but she's probably even more autistic, more sensitive to um, sounds, noises, textures than I am, and definitely has some of the other tendencies. But now that I understand this, I look back, and during my first pregnancy with her, I had really bad gestational diabetes. Um, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known that my food choices were going to impact her for the rest of her life in the way that they've impacted her. I've actually called my own mother and said, "Hey, mom, is there a pattern of autism in our family, because it's generally genetic. Yes, the autism or the insulin resistance sets it off, but it's generally genetic." And she wasn't aware of anyone that was autistic or diagnosed with autism in our family, but now that I am, I can see it. Anyway, be careful when you're pregnant. Um, be careful that you don't push yourself into gestational diabetes. Stop overeating sugar. Stop saying, "I'm growing a baby, I can eat what I want," because that gestational diabetes can affect your child for the rest of their lives. And there is a lot of studies coming out that are showing that autism and ADHD can form in the womb and start off there. So we just need to be more careful about how we are nourishing our children in utero. Okay, this is not a finger pointing like you're a bad person because you didn't know and you did these things. I didn't know. I don't feel like I'm a bad person. I just didn't know. But now that I know, I want other people to know that if you want your child to have the best chance, you got to do better with some of these cravings that you're having, and not let them get out of control when you're pregnant, for the protection of yourself and your child, your unborn child. All right. One of the I'm still blown away, you guys. I am still digesting this. I just recently learned about the dopamine production from this tea, and the light bulb went on. I was like, well, that's why I crave the tea every morning. With ADHD, I don't have dopamine in the way that you guys do. And so when I find something that's new and exciting, I get dopamine hits. And that's why I tend to like go off on these new things and forget about all the old things because they're just not giving me dopamine. But now that I know that this is giving me small amounts of dopamine and helping with that throughout my day and helping me therefore not have as many cravings or as many of those times where you go into a food coma with ADHD, this has been tremendous for me. Okay. So, we're wrapping up at the end, but you guys, I do wanna what was it I was gonna say? So, a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon. I already have my afternoon tea mixed up. It's on ice, and I will be sipping that throughout the day. And look at how big this one is. This one is huge, right? About 40 ounces in that. I don't always like my tea strong. Sometimes I like it a little more diluted. Yeah, Nick. So, and I want to say something too. So, and again, this isn't to make anyone feel bad. Like we did not know, right? We just didn't know. Nobody was talking about this stuff. But the best that we can do, Nick, now he says he wished he'd known as a first-time parent. Sad his children might suffer as he's at 56. Um, we didn't know. That's part of the reason I'm here is to let people know so that we're not making those mistakes again. But and Nick, because you're a male, I'm not picking on you, but just I wanted to address this. So it's not all on the women's shoulders. Yes, the women can develop or gestational diabetes and cause this or contribute to autism spectrum disorder and ADHD in their children. But the one thing that I haven't mentioned recently is that a father with diabetes who impregnates a woman who goes on to have gestational diabetes or maybe she's diabetic herself, that combination even increases the risk higher. So it does come down to both mom and dad um, to take care of this, to have the healthiest children that they can have. Denise, so you can buy the tea just by itself, Margot. In my in my website, there's a whole page of the booster for the tea. Let's just take a look at my webpage, okay? To get the link for that, so I just clicked on my webpage. Oops, nope, I didn't. I clicked on the link to the system. So let's fix this, and then I want to show you. So if we go to my web page, and maybe I just need to put that up because I thought I had it up. Nope. Um, I'll fix that. Let's just fix it. So I want to show you the website so you guys can find all the stuff, and I'm trying to get it updated. Give me 1 second, and I will fix that little glitch in my so you can see where to get it and what you're going to get and where you can find all the stuff. If you just want the tea, there we are. Okay, now it should look right. Let's do this. Okay. So there's my link tree. So there it is now, the website. So if you just want to talk with me and just decide what you want to do, great. I love that for you. I love that for me. I love having these conversations. So thank you. It's very selfish of me that I get to have conversations with amazing people who are on a mission to get better. But my website, if you go here, for whatever reason, it's not linking up correctly. So just click on the take me home and then you'll be on my website. But, oh, maybe I need to update it. Anyway, I do have a page where it shows you the balance. I'll update my website for that right now, but you can just order right here. So they've made it's a little hard on me right now because in order to update my information for you guys, which doesn't have to happen, but I do, I have had to try and keep up with everything, and I need to update my webpage. But yes, we have a 2 pack of the tea. It's actually cheaper for you to get it that way, and most people are drinking the tea or drinking more than one a day anyway. And it runs at about 149 for the two tea together. It's 169 for the two tea and the balance. But you get a $10 credit off of that two tea and balance, so that brings it back down to 159. You don't pay any shipping when you do it on subscription. So I always tell people just do the subscription. Please just do the subscription. It's saving you about $20 now, and you can cancel it, change it at any time. Um, so the new protocol, Denise, I'm probably going to always do the 2 fiber a day. For me, my gut needs it. Not everyone needs as much as I do. I'm still going to be doing two tea and two balance a day. Um, Dr. Sunil. So most people are having a problem, and it does have to do with the gaps in our food that mean that things like fiber have been stripped out. People are having problems with cravings. And so what we're offering is a nutritional way for them to overcome those things and do it as easily as possible. So do we need supplements? Yeah, hell yeah, we need supplements because our food is not the same as it was. We're not getting in enough fiber. We're not getting in enough of other nutrients that we need. Fiber, by the way, is a prebiotic, feeding the good probiotic in your gut. If most of us are only getting in 10 to 15 grams of fiber when we're eating normally, and we need to get that up to 30 grams of fiber. Most of us don't have the time or resources to cook and use enough fiber from raw foods because, again, it's been changed. And so we need to supplement with some extra fiber. At least it's been true for me. And I did veganism. I did all the things that you're talking about, and it did not reverse these issues for me the way everything changed when I started using these products that are just filling the gaps in our nutrition so that my body can do what it's meant to do. Now, I would agree that we don't need medications to fix these things, but most people do not have access to the pure kind of food that you want people to have or that I want to have. And so supplementing to fill in those gaps is absolutely necessary. And let's not lead people astray with all of that. Like, I get you're here and you're probably trying to get people to come work with you, and that's fine. But don't make them think that, like, I love it when I see so many doctors who are talking about nutrition. We have doctors who are doing the system now who used to have these big protocols that they had people doing that people couldn't sustain or remember, or, and it cost them more than the system. So that's fine. If you want to go teach people on your page, go teach people on your page. But I'm here to tell you that I lived this life for 60 years now. And the only thing that really changed it for me, yes, I changed my eating a little bit, but was getting in these supplements that help my body deal with the state of our food today. And that's the key. So I'm not backing down from that. I will never back down from that. When I hear more and more doctors talk about the fact that our food is just not the same, that it's not giving us what we need to function the same, then yeah, something's got to change. And for most people, being able to mix a tea in water or a fiber in water before they eat and go about their day and make some minor changes, like if prioritizing protein and filling up with fats and limiting carbs and getting rid of seed oils out of their diet. Yeah, all of those things add up to what's helping people with insulin resistance. But these were designed by metabolic scientists to address the problem of insulin resistance, to address the problem naturally. And so we're not doing Ozempic and Mounjaro and tirzepatide and all of these other things. We're naturally, through food, addressing insulin resistance and helping people along the way get to the optimal health they want to be at. So, yeah, it's lovely work I do, and I'm not going to stop doing it because somebody says, "Oh, we don't need supplements." If I took these away, um, my body reacts to food differently than other people's, and all of you guys' bodies react differently than the person sitting next to you. So I'm just giving my body the best chance it has to do the best it can while I'm an imperfect human. Bottom line. Okay, so if you're interested in the system or talking out, make sure they are ground. I've done flax seeds before, and one of the things, Nick, is that, and I've heard not just our scientists, but multiple scientists and doctors out there starting to say that it takes a variety of fiber. That's why there's 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in our fiber mix. And there's actually clinical studies done on our fiber. I don't Flax seeds aren't going to work as well. Sure, you can do them. I used to do flax seeds and wasn't seeing a lot of change. I used to do chia pudding. I used to do all the stuff that you guys talk about, and it didn't change my health. The system actually reversed my diabetes and got me back to health. So that's why I talk about it. Yeah, do I do other things? I was talking to somebody last night. Yes, I take omega 3s. Yes, I take CoQ10. Remember, my blood pressure was out of control for a long time. My body needs more support. Um, but in order to keep my ADHD and my cravings and my leptin levels and all of that under control, yeah, I use these supplements because they tend to turn that around and change my blood work. By the way, my A1C was 7.4 when I started. It's now 5.3. I still eat burgers every once in a while. Yesterday, my meals were I had some chicken fingers that I made myself, and then I had it was a clean out the fridge day, and then I had some chicken wings for dinner, and I had some green salad. I'm not a huge vegetable eater, so the fiber in this is really, really helps me out. But the 7 different types of fiber are what's important. Um, so look, we're gonna do it this morning again. So I love, and Denise, I don't feel like I've answered your question. Do the new protocol. If you feel like you miss having the extra fiber, you can. There's another fiber that's a little less expensive through Unicity that's meant to kind of clean you out. So you could do one of those fibers in a day and this, which would be a little less expensive, but you can also get an extra pack of 30 of those and continue on with 2 fiber and 1 tea. Now, Denise, also, I know you're not my customer, but if you set up your subscription for the old system before May 22nd, so meaning they know that they're going to produce so many of these systems, you can still get the old system. You can change the flavor of the tea throughout the time. You can delay it for a month if you want, but you have to have that old system set up before May 22nd. So if you're doubting yourself, you can do that and then switch later if you choose. I will always do 2 tea. Okay, so I mixed this up and then I didn't even drink it. See, it's already starting to get really thick, so I'm going to drink this down. I mixed that in while I was talking. That's all I do before my meals, but look at this. You see that thick coating in there? Flaxseed is not giving you that. Now, this is before it hits the enzymes and the acids in my stomach and makes it gel up and thicken up even more. It's that action that's helping reduce the blood sugar spikes by helping slow down how quickly the sugars are dissolved into your bloodstream. So what we're doing is slowing down the sugars that are coming from your foods, whether it's from your fruits and vegetables or whether it's from bagged and packaged and potatoes and rice and all of that. It's slowing down that. It reduces a glucose spike by 20%. Do I want that in my life? Yes, I do. So Denise, the name of the other fiber is called Live Fiber, and I think it's about $30 for a canister that lasts me a couple of months. Generally, recently, just recently, because I'm doing so much to try and get my health turned around from years of abuse to my body. I do the live fiber in the morning. I also put some super greens in it, and I drink that before I come on live just to get that extra fiber in my gut. Now, that's not breaking my fast as far as insulin resistance goes. It's helping me actually produce more short chain fatty acids, which is telling my body to do more ketones and burn more of my fat for fuel during those fasting hours. So, Li fiber, Li fiber. It's got about 27 different components in it that are helping with keeping the digestive tract clean. So, that might be an option for you. The other option would be to just order an extra 30 count box of the balance. You have MS. So, it's not one I talk about a lot, so I don't wanna come off the cuff. I remember doing some research about MS and this, but can you let me, take a look at I'm gonna Enchanted, I'm going to, screenshot so I have your name. I'll do some research on how insulin resistance is linked to MS. There is a link, but I can't explain it to you this morning because it's not on the top of my mind, but I will do some research and either do a video or maybe talk about it on Monday so that I'm giving you real answers based on scientific papers and not just my own views. Okay. Because I have my own views, and I'll be very clear when it's my view and when it's science. Like, I will tell you, this is how I feel about it. And that's your decision to make up. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Karen, I'll send you the link right now. You guys, I do want to mention this. I'm super excited. I've been holding on to it because I am not fully trained on it yet. But here's my thing. I've started using a technology that reads energy. It's been the technology's been around for a while, but it's not meant really to diagnose, but it's meant to show us where we're out of balance with our energies, what could be causing more problems with us. So, um, for now, I will be doing more work with that later. But for now, anybody who signs up with the Feel Great system with me, I will do your first scan for free. And what that's going to show you is maybe where you're a little bit out of balance. And yes, it gets it down into things like chakras, but it gets into your meridians, your lymphatic system, your chromosomes, your lipids, all of the stuff that we're talking about, whether you have enough vascularity to your brain, to your heart, all of that. It only takes about 10 seconds of your time, and then I can produce these reports with this technology to send to you so that you can take a look at your life and decide what may be going on with you. I have a number of clients who are feeling better from the insulin resistance, but they're still having lagging problems. Interestingly enough, I know I call it native gut because I'm also Native American, and our guts just function differently. Um, but one of the things that comes up, because I can even put my supplements in there and it will tell me what my body is lacking or needing for the day. And it's interesting that the most needed supplements for me personally are all about digestive enzymes, fibers, and the Unimate for energy. It's crazy to me. Not everybody comes up with Unimate on their daily, but mine comes up every day, in the midday, in the evening. The scanner is called AO Scan, um, and it's been pretty amazing technology. I had heard about it. I had wanted to try it for a while, but I just didn't have the brain space and the time to dedicate because it's going to take some learning. Um, but yeah, I was talking with a woman whose child was diagnosed with some of these disorders as a toddler, and now as a 30-year-old adult is struggling. And so we're going to do a scan for her today, not because I'm going to diagnose or cure anything, but so that she can see like what maybe are the emotional causes of some of this incongruency in your body. Do you have insulin that's out of control? Is your leptin working properly? Are your chromosomes inflamed? Whatever is going on, it shows all of that and allows you to kind of fit together what's happening. And so I'm happy to be able to do that for people so you can see maybe some other areas you need to address. Maybe you just need to get more sleep. Maybe you need to have some lymphatic massage, whatever. You guys, I want people to get better. Okay. So, yeah, if you order from me, and I'm going to change my text messaging right now. Probably at some point today, so that new people will get this text that allows you to set up an appointment. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes to run the scan, and then we can see what else is going on. It's given me a lot of answers for myself. It even gets down into your sexual hormones, your thyroid hormones, all of that. It's, again, not diagnostic, but it's pointing to where things may be a little bit off for you, so you can decide how you're going to attack it. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And so I'll be offering all of that as well soon here too. But I do want to give one scan to my people for free when they start, just because I want you to be able to start to see what's going on with you, because your body is very different than mine, and it's going to have different things that you need to address. Do I still believe insulin resistance is the root cause of most of our problems, or linked to most of our problems? Absolutely. So, just like the conversation I had last night, the AO scan is just giving me another tool to help people. But I still, and for probably a long time, will be talking about insulin resistance and how we need to do that. If we clear the issues out that are driven by insulin resistance, if we, get the psoriasis on the skin to look better, if we get the skin tags to go away, if we get a number of these things, because people are walking around with these page long lists of symptoms. If we can get those cleared up, now we can start to see where other imbalances in the system may be and address those. So it's always going to start with the insulin resistance for me, and then we're going to be adding in this scan to help people see maybe where they might need to make other lifestyle choice changes. It points to foods that may be inflammatory for you. All of it's an intensive little report, and I'm really happy to be able to give it out to people. So you guys just use the link in my bio, and either tap on the text me one, or go to my website and order if you choose that. But either way, then when I see you come across my list, I will do the scan. It's important to me that people get healthy. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's talk. Thank you, Enchanted. Um, yes, I make money. I spend a lot of time doing this. Do I deserve to be paid for the work I do? Absolutely, just like you do. But does that mean that I don't want people to get better? No, I want people to get better. In fact, because I spend so much time educating and less time pushing product, I probably make less than some people who are just out there like, you got to buy this. Do I believe you got to buy this? Yeah, but that's not my personality. Kelly, I look forward to working with you. Um, and it's just about energetic exchange, guys. So if we can start to understand all of these things, put pieces together, and I can help people start to feel better, um, amazing, amazing, right? And some of it's just going to be adjustments in your own life that have nothing to do with anything that's going to cost you. But the scan, I think, can help people. If you are a person who's interested in it, just text me back after you've ordered, and we'll get it set up so we can run that. Another thing that's happening with all of this that I am so encouraged about, and we just found this out this last Wednesday, is now we have the 90-day money back guarantee. So it guarantees that you're going to feel better after you do the system consistently for 90 days. One of the first guarantees that we had with that was that it would reduce your A1C. That was why the 90-day protocol. But now we've actually found a lab that has very similar I- ideologies as us. So there are plenty of labs out there who would do tests for us, but then they're going to want to send people to prescriptions and whatnot. And that's not what we want. We don't want to be sending people to Monjaro and Trulicity and those things. We want to keep people off of medications. So bottom line, this lab is now offering a before and after A1C test, HbA HbA1c. So it's about $45 if you're starting the system and you want to check your A1C now and check it again in 90 days to see what's actually happening for you, then let me know and I'll get you the link for the A1C. Okay. Um, and yeah, it is about $45, but you're not doing a doctor's visit. You're not doing any of that. You're just simply going to get the reading of where your A1C is before you started the system and after you've done it for 90 days. Um, yeah, and the A1C is important because it gives us a picture of over time. Our blood glucose can vary wildly throughout the day. So just a blood glucose reading is not a fasted blood glucose reading is not going to do the trick. By the way, you don't have to be fasted for the A1C, although I hope if you're following me, you do some intermittent fasting anyway. And so not having food in your stomach for 8 hours shouldn't be a problem for you anyway. 12 meds. Kelly, I was on 13 different medications when I started. I'm not on any medications now. Do I use supplements like CoQ10, omega 3, some probiotics, and this stuff? Absolutely. But I'm not on 12 different meds. And that means, I was able to get rid of a walker, a cane. I can walk up and down stairs now. I don't always have to take the elevator. Um, I can get out and play and run and enjoy my grandkids. And that has been amazing. So going from having a counter full and with ADHD, if it's not out, I can't remember it. So I used to walk into my kitchen every morning and there's this counter full of tablets that I had to take for my cholesterol, for my blood pressure, for my thyroid, for my all my stuff, and I don't take any of those now. So I just do this. Okay. Yeah, and that's all I wanted to, Kelly. I mean, I remember crying. That's the stories I tell you guys are absolutely true. And there was a time in life when maybe I would have been embarrassed by it, but I've actually dove into the the reality that if I suffered through it, it was for a purpose. And that purpose is most likely to share with someone else, um, so that they don't have to go through all the things that I did or that they can turn things around like I did. So that's the whole goal. Okay. So let's chat. I will be more than happy to I'll give you all the information and then you get to make the decision. Do I think you should do it? Yeah, I do. Of course I do. But am I going to pressure anybody? No, I'm not. And then, yeah, we can get these scans done for the people who've ordered and start helping you guys in another way. Those of you who want to test your A1C with a blood test, um, we'll do that. Okay. So I appreciate you all, and I look forward to everybody getting their health back and having quality of life again. It's been amazing for me. I don't talk about the business side enough. Not sure why I do that because I was raised in a Nazarene and Lutheran family and, all the religious programming. But here's the thing. This whole thing, not only did it get my health back so that I could walk and I could play with my grandkids and I have mental clarity and I can actually form a thought and my kids aren't worried about having to put me in a home because mom went into dementia early, but I have time freedom. Today's Friday. My beautiful little grandson with a DNA disorder. By the way, I'm going to be using the scan on my grandson, um, because it doesn't harm him. It's just resetting energies. Um, but I have the time freedom to spend with him. Now he's discovered Fortnite, so we play Fortnite a lot, building games, whatever. Um, and it's good for him because of his disorder. It's really those games are good for him. But I get to have that time with him. And so I don't generally pick up my phone from Friday evening to Sunday evening because that's his time. He already has a shortened lifespan. I want to give him everything while he's around. And I wasn't able to do that 3 years ago because I was working so much all the time that I just it was a struggle. If I took time out for my family, it meant I couldn't pay my bills. Now, I help people all day. I help my family all day. I help myself. I make enough money to have a very comfortable lifestyle, and I feel good about what I do. So if you end up doing the system, you love it as much as I do, and you want to do this too, let me know. We have people who are making a couple hundred a month. We have people who are making far more than I make, and they're just helping people get better. I'm going to tell you, most people started just because when it helped them, they wanted to help their family members, and they started finding so many people that really needed and wanted it too, that it was just kind of a no-brainer. All right, you guys. Kelly, it's been amazing. I really hope that I get the chance to talk to you. Use my WhatsApp link and text me, and it'll be afternoon before I'm able to take calls, but I would absolutely love to have a conversation with you. Adult acne, yes. So there's two things that you can do for adult let's say this. Let's say this properly. Adult acne. Um, so where was I even going with that? It absolutely links to adult acne. So most adult acne is insulin driven, right? Insulin resistance driven. My own daughter, and she knows, she has her own channel and she talks about it. So I'm not saying anything that she wouldn't, but she's suffered with acne since her teens. Um, when I see her now, like, she would never wear sleeveless tops because she had body acne, and we couldn't seem to figure it out. We did all the expensive treatments, we did all the stuff, and her skin just wasn't getting better. I used to make her wash every day. We would change her sheets every day or every other day. We would do all the stuff trying to find ways to help her acne, and nothing seemed to work. She started the system, started getting her insulin resistance under control. And I remember walking up to her and seeing her in a sleeveless top and realizing that her skin wasn't full of acne, and it helped her, right? Because that adult acne really can be devastating to your ego. And let's not play, our ego plays a big part of our lives. And yeah, it can help with acne. So, the other thing, though, that I would say with adult acne is we also have a cleanse. I don't talk about it often, but if you reach out to me, I'll get you a link for the cleanse. It's a simple thing that can be done alongside the system. I do it twice a year. I probably will start doing it again this month, but it helps remove bacteria, parasites and whatnot out of your colon. Now, acne can also be linked to all of this gut disorder that's going on with insulin resistance and the inflammation going on in the gut, causing inflammation in the skin. So, to me, it's kind of a two-factor approach. Yeah, you need to do the system to get the insulin resistance down. Some people, if they're not seeing change right away, may want to do the cleanse. We had a young lady who had really bad acne, started the system, but also did the cleanse for 3 months when her acne wasn't clearing up the way she wanted it to. At the end of, and I wouldn't do the cleanse for more than 3 months, her skin was normal after cleaning up her gut and utilizing the insulin resistance protocol called the Feel Great system. So I do think it will help with adult acne. It's helped many people with adult acne. You also need to know, though, with adult acne, that two things that you need to really pay attention to getting out of your life is seed oils and high amounts of sugar. Okay. All right. Yeah, you're very, very welcome, Jay. So, you guys, we'll be back on Monday. I will talk a little bit about MS on Monday. Um, And anything else you guys want to know, message me. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about, or say it on one of these lives. And I'm more than happy to do a little bit of research and bring you guys some information that's hopefully backed in science. Now, a lot of the information I talked about with the brain today, although they haven't done a ton of studies yet, what they're finding is the metadata. Remember, I talked about multiple studies. When they've looked at multiple studies in regards to insulin and these things with the brain, they're all leaning to the same conclusions, which means that insulin resistance is a key part of it. So let's address that and start getting people better from head down to the toe, because yeah, it affects gout too. All right, we'll see you guys Monday. Yes, it was such a blessing this morning to talk to you all, and the interaction. I really appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to talking to you, Kelly. I got your message. So I'll be messaging you in a bit. And otherwise, we'll see you guys Monday. Yeah, gout is linked to it as well. Gout is linked to it as well. Talked a little bit about it yesterday, but yeah, yeah, we'll talk soon. Today. All right, you guys have a great day. Thank you. We'll see you Monday.